cheating wife tried to win me back, only to find out her best friend is now my girlfriend and she's not happy about it. Hey Reddit. So, this is a bit of a long one, and it still feels so surreal. I'm still processing everything that's happened. This whole situation has changed my life in ways I never could have imagined. Let me start from the beginning. My wife and I were together for 8 years. We met in college, and for the longest time, I thought she was the one. We built a life together, got married, bought a house, and even had a few pets. Everything seemed perfect on the surface, but like they say, you never really know what's going on behind closed doors. It started with small things at first. She'd come home later than usual, and when I asked, she'd brush it off with some excuse about work or a girl's night out. I didn't think much of it at the time, but over time, it became more frequent. I remember one evening, she came home around 3 a.m., smelling of perfume that wasn't hers. I asked her about it, and she said it was just a colleague's perfume that she had borrowed. I didn't push further because, well, I trusted her. Then one day, I found a text on her phone. It was from a guy named Tom, someone I had never heard of before. The text was something along the lines of "Can't wait to see you tonight. Hope your husband doesn't find out." I was already suspicious, but seeing that text was like a punch to the gut. I confronted her about it, and she broke down crying. She apologized, said she had been feeling neglected, and that she made a huge mistake. She promised it was a one-time thing, and I was hesitant but decided to forgive her. I wanted to believe her. But things didn't get better. The more I tried to work through it, the more she pulled away. The emotional distance between us grew, and I became suspicious all over again. A few months later, I caught her red-handed. I came home early from work one day, and I found her in bed with Tom. I was devastated. Absolutely crushed. There was no excuse for it this time. I confronted her, and she admitted it, saying she had been seeing Tom for months. My world felt like it was falling apart. After everything we had been through, the idea that she had betrayed me like that was unbearable. I kicked her out. She didn't fight it. She seemed almost relieved to leave, like she had been waiting for me to do it. I didn't know what to do. For weeks, I didn't hear from her. I focused on myself, started going to therapy, and tried to rebuild my life. I had so many people telling me that I deserved better, and honestly, I started to believe it. I wasn't the perfect husband, but I never deserved to be treated like that. Now, here's where things get interesting. A couple of months after the split, I reconnected with her best friend, Rachel. Rachel and I had always gotten along, but we had never been anything more than friends. She was supportive when things went south with my wife. She would check in on me, offer to hang out, and give me advice when I needed it. She was there when I needed someone the most. We started hanging out more. I guess it was inevitable. At some point we ended up getting closer and eventually started dating. It wasn't something either of us planned, but the chemistry was undeniable. We spent hours talking, laughing, and just enjoying each other's company. It felt like I had finally found someone who actually cared about me, someone who wasn't going to betray me or lie to me. I was happy, and it felt like I was moving on. But then my ex-wife came back into the picture. One evening, I got a text from her. She said she wanted to meet up and talk. I didn't want to, but I agreed because I thought maybe we could have some closure. I met her at a coffee shop, and she looked different. She had been working on herself, she said. She lost some weight, started going to therapy, and was ready to make things right. She apologized over and over again for everything. She said she made a huge mistake and that she still loved me. She wanted us to get back together and try to fix things. I was shocked. After everything she had done, she was asking for a second chance. I didn't know what to say. I was confused. I didn't want to hurt her, but at the same time, I knew I could never trust her again. I told her I wasn't interested in getting back together. She took it hard. She started crying and begged me to reconsider, but I stood my ground. I told her I had moved on, that I was in a new relationship, and that I couldn't go back. It didn't go over well. She didn't take it as gracefully as I had hoped. She left the coffee shop in a huff, and I thought that was the last time I would hear from her. But that wasn't the end of it. A week later, Rachel and I were hanging out at my place, watching a movie. We were sitting on the couch, and she leaned in to kiss me. Just as she was about to, the doorbell rang. I opened the door, and to my surprise, it was my ex-wife. She was standing there, looking furious. She pushed past me and barged into the living room. Rachel stood up, and the two of them locked eyes. My ex-wife's face twisted in anger as she realized what was happening. "Are you seriously dating her?" my ex-wife demanded. "My best friend? After everything that's happened? You're going to replace me with her?" Rachel was quiet at first, but then she spoke up. "I didn't steal him from you," she said calmly. You lost him all on your own. That hit my ex-wife hard. She stood there for a moment, completely stunned, before turning on me. How could you do this? You've been with her the whole time? Are you serious? She yelled. I come back, trying to fix things, and this is what I get? I could see her spiraling, but I wasn't going to let her drag me back into the mess she had created. I looked her in the eyes and said, you had your chance, and you blew it. You can't just come back into my life whenever it's convenient for you. My ex-wife left, slamming the door behind her. The whole thing felt surreal, like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. It was clear that she didn't just want me back, she wanted control again. But I wasn't about to let that happen. Since then, things have been awkward between Rachel and my ex-wife. There's still some tension, and my ex-wife has tried to reach out to Rachel, but Rachel has shut her down every time. I'm just focusing on my relationship with Rachel and trying to build a life where I feel happy and secure. Looking back, I don't regret my decision. I'm not perfect, and neither is Rachel, but we're happy together. My ex-wife might have come back to win me over, but in the end, she only found out that her betrayal had cost her everything. Update. So, after my last post, things have gotten even more complicated, and I feel like I need to share what's been happening since that showdown with my ex-wife. It's been a roller coaster, and honestly, I wasn't prepared for all the emotions that followed. First of all, Rachel and I have been doing great. We've become even closer since the whole thing went down. I never thought I'd be in this situation, but after all the hurt, the betrayal, and the healing, it feels like we're really building something solid. We've had a couple of deep conversations about what we both want, and it's clear that we're on the same page. We've agreed to take things slow and let our relationship grow naturally, but it's been a comforting feeling to know that I'm not alone anymore. As for my ex-wife, things got messy after I shut her down. I thought that would be the last time she would come around, but I was wrong. A few days after our confrontation, she showed up at my work. I hadn't spoken to her since that day, and I thought we were done, but she found a way to contact me. She came into the office, walked straight to my desk, and without any warning, started apologizing again. It was awkward, to say the least. She started talking about how she had messed up and that she'd been seeing a therapist to work on herself. She even mentioned how she regretted not being there for me the way she should have been. It was like she was trying to get back into my life by saying all the right things, but I wasn't buying it. I listened to her for a few minutes because I wanted to hear her out, but I wasn't going to let her manipulate me again. I calmly told her that I was with Rachel now, and that there was no chance of us getting back together. She seemed to take it better than I expected, but there was still that look in her eyes, the same one I saw when she was begging me to forgive her before. She left without making a scene, but I could tell that the rejection stung. Honestly, I don't even know why she came back into my life after everything. Maybe she just wanted to make herself feel better, but I wasn't the person she could do that with anymore. Since then, I haven't heard from her directly. It's been a few weeks, and I've been doing my best to stay focused on what's important: my relationship with Rachel and moving forward. My ex-wife seems to have moved on, at least for now, and Rachel and I are doing better than ever. One of the things that have been bothering me, though, is how this whole situation has affected my relationship with my in-laws. They still don't know the full story of what happened between me and my ex-wife. I've had a couple of awkward family gatherings, where they act like nothing's changed, but I can tell they're still holding on to some old expectations. I don't want to get into details with them just yet, but I'm trying to navigate this in a way that doesn't cause unnecessary drama. Rachel has been understanding about it all, which means the world to me. She's supportive when I need to vent, but she doesn't push me to share things I'm not ready to talk about. It's a relief to have someone who just gets it, especially after everything that's happened. All in all, I'm doing okay. I'm focused on healing and moving forward, and while the past is still a part of me, I'm doing my best not to let it define who I am now. I'll keep you all updated as things evolve. Another update. Alright, so I've been meaning to give another update, and I have a lot to unpack. Things have really taken a turn in the last couple of weeks, and I've learned a lot about myself, my ex-wife, and, most importantly, about Rachel and how strong she really is. As I mentioned before, I thought my ex-wife had moved on after our confrontation, but I was wrong. After she showed up at my work, I figured that would be the last time I'd hear from her. But no, she managed to get in touch again, this time through a mutual friend. She reached out to this friend of mine, someone we both know from the old days, and asked if she could meet with me again. She said she needed closure, and she didn't want me to just shut the door completely. I wasn't sure what to do. Part of me still felt pity for her, but another part of me was just frustrated with the whole situation. I had made it clear that I was done, but she seemed to think that if she just tried hard enough, I'd come back to her. I thought long and hard about it. I even talked it over with Rachel. She was surprisingly calm about it, but it was clear she was feeling a little nervous. I think she was worried about how this would affect our relationship, and I didn't want her to feel insecure. So, I promised her I would be completely honest with her about everything. We both agreed I should meet with my ex, but only if it was in a neutral setting. No private places, no emotional manipulation, just a simple conversation to finalize things. I reached out to my ex and suggested a public park to meet. When we sat down, she immediately started talking about all the regrets she had. She went on and on about how much she had changed, how she realized her mistakes, and how she was in therapy now. But honestly, I wasn't hearing any of it. I didn't need her apologies anymore, I needed action. I told her that I had already moved on and that I was done looking back. The worst part of that conversation was seeing how desperate she was. I could tell she was doing everything in her power to make me feel guilty, like I was the one who had wronged her. But I didn't let her manipulate me this time. I stood firm and told her that this wasn't going to work out. When I left that meeting, I felt relieved, but at the same time, I realized something that really struck me. Even though my ex-wife had hurt me in unimaginable ways, I had been the one to let it go. I had moved on, but she was still stuck in the past, trying to rewrite our history. Afterward, I went straight to Rachel, and I shared everything with her. She was calm and understanding, but I could tell it had affected her more than she let on. She didn't say anything at first, but when we got home, she just held me for a long time. I think she was processing it all too. What amazed me was Rachel's strength. She didn't react with jealousy or insecurity. She didn't try to tell me what to do. She was just there for me, and that was exactly what I needed. Rachel has been such a source of stability for me through all of this. I don't think I could have gotten through it without her. And the more I think about it, the more I realize that I've made the right choice by moving on with her. Final update. It's been a couple of months since I last posted, and I think it's time to share the final update. Things have really settled down, and I can honestly say I'm in a much better place now than I was when all of this started. So, here's where I stand. My relationship with Rachel is stronger than ever. We've been through some tough times, especially with everything that happened with my ex-wife, but we've come out the other side more united. I've realized that Rachel is the person I want to be with, not just because she's supportive, but because she's genuinely a better match for me than I ever thought possible. It's not that I haven't had moments of doubt. There have been a few moments when I've thought about my past and wondered if I'd made the right choices. But those moments are fleeting. When I look at Rachel, I see someone who is kind, honest, and loyal, everything I had been looking for but didn't know I needed. As for my ex-wife, I haven't heard from her in a while. I think she's finally accepted that I'm not coming back. I've heard through mutual friends that she's still in therapy and trying to rebuild her life, which is honestly all I could have hoped for. I don't wish her any ill will. It's just that our paths have diverged, and there's no going back. My family has slowly started to accept my relationship with Rachel. It's been awkward at times, but I think they're finally understanding that I've made the right choice for myself. I've also been more vocal with them about what happened with my ex-wife, which has helped clear the air. Looking forward, I'm excited. I'm starting to think about the future, my career, where I want to live, what kind of life I want to build. I feel free in a way I haven't felt in years. And it's because of Rachel. She's my rock, and I'm so grateful to have her by my side. I know it hasn't been an easy journey, but I've come out stronger and more confident in the person I've become. I don't have any regrets anymore. The past is the past, and I'm finally at peace with it. Here's to the future.